What up? Welcome to another deck profile. This is Sultai Clues, except it's called the World's Worst Detectives because we're going to make a lot of clues and then we're not going to use them to draw cards. We're going to use them for other stuff. So to make this work, we're running two partner commanders. We got Ich-Tekik Silas Renn. When he enters, you make a 3/3 colors golem artifact creature token, and whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on Ich-Tekik and a 1/1 counter on each golem. Usually you play this in like a golem tribal deck. It's just kind of a green partner commander that works with sacrificing artifacts and gets value out of it. And then we're running Silas Renn, which is obviously whenever it deals combat damage to a player, choose target artifact card in your graveyard. You may cast that card this turn. We're running enough artifacts for this to be good. It's also in colors. This originally started as a Selesnya deck, and then I realized there weren't really enough payoffs for actually sacrificing clues. And then I went through a few lists. I saw, obviously, I think red black has a lot of stuff, but we're just not going to play 4-color. We're going to do 3-color instead. So yeah, let's go through the list. Obviously we got artifacts like Ramp, Arcane Signet, Grinding Station, which is super good in the deck. Whenever an artifact enters, you can untap this artifact and you can sack an artifact to have a player mill 3. It's kind of an all-win con. If the game goes long enough, you can end up milling your opponents out. Ichor Wellspring, when you sack it, draw a card, and when it enters, draw a card. It's just kind of good draw value in the deck. KCI, you can sack an artifact to add 2 colorless. Obviously really strong when you're making a lot of clues. Lightning Greaves is protection. Patriarch Seal is a way to untap. So there are some effects that tap to do something. This is just a way to tap, or to untap a legendary. Also, can just be a mana rock. Soul Ring is ramp. Swiftfoot Boots is protection. Talisman, Talisman, Talisman. Tamio's Journal, at the beginning of your upkeep, investigate. So this will just make at least 1 clue every turn. You can also sack 3 clues to search your library, which, cool. This is mainly in here just to make clues. And then Time Sieve, sack 5 clues, take an extra turn. Hey, what a better use for a clue than just taking an extra turn. I don't think this goes infinite. We'll talk about, if you saw the brackets here, it says 4. I don't really agree with that because it's, but yeah. On the creatures, Academy Manufacturer, whenever we investigate, we're also going to end up making a food and a treasure. Obviously, it's amazing value. Armix Filigree Thrasher, 3 mana, 3/2. When it attacks, you can discard a card, and you can give target creature defending player controls -X/-X, where X is the number of artifacts you control plus the number of artifacts in your graveyard. Obviously, with a lot of clues on board, this is kind of removal on swing. Cyberdrive Awakener makes all other artifact creatures have flying, and it makes all your clues into 4/4 artifact creatures until end of turn. So this could be like a late game win con. Displaced Dinosaur. As a historic permanent enters battlefield under your control, it becomes a 7/7 dinosaur addition to its other types. So all your clues will enter 7/7 dinos as well, which is pretty useful. Eloise, I don't know how to pronounce that. Nefalius Sleuth. Whenever another creature you control dies, investigate. This is kind of just the way to investigate. And also sack a token, surveil 1. You can sack your clues to surveil if you need to, and it can generate. Ethereal Investigator, flying. When it enters, investigate X times or X number of opponents you have, and whenever you draw your second card each turn, make a 1/1 white spirit. The token generator on the 1/1 is alright. It's mainly in here for investigate 3 times, but it's pretty common to draw more than 1 card each turn with this deck. Golbez, whenever an artifact enters, surveil 1, and at the beginning of your end step, if you have 4 or more artifacts, you can turn a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Then if you control 8 or more, each opponent loses life equal to the card's mana power. This is usually a reanimator to hand effect, but it's also mainly in here because it says when an artifact enters, surveil 1. Homicide Investigator, 2 mana, 2/2. Whenever 1 or more non-token creatures you control die, investigate. This ability triggers only once each turn. It's just a way to investigate once each turn. Jahir, Friend of the Forest. All your tokens have tap to add a green. This just makes all your clues mana dorks. James, Wandering Dad. You can either pay blue X, investigate X times, or you can tap to add 2 colors to spend on activated abilities. Mainly in here for the investigate. Obviously you can tap them and then crack a clue to draw a card if you need to, but that's not really what the deck cares about doing that much. Cap Cannoneer, improvise, so your artifacts can help tap for it. Ward 4, when this creature or another artifact enters, put a 1/1 counter, and it can't be blocked. Obviously any artifact deck that runs blue probably runs Cap Cannoneer unless it's like bracket 4 or 5 combo. Kellen, Inquisitive Prodigy. You can 2-mana investigate, play an additional land, which is nice. And then he's a 4-mana 3/4 Flying Vigilance. Whenever he attacks, destroy a target artifact. If you control the permanent, draw a card. So you can sack your own clues to draw cards. Which, to be fair, clues already do, but... Keskit the Flesh Sculptor. So you can sack 3 other artifacts and your creatures. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put 2 of them into your hand, 1 into your graveyard. Or the other into your graveyard. This was originally the commander with Ich-Tekik, but I realized I just wanted to run blue because a lot of the good payoffs were in blue, unfortunately. So yeah, this is like kind of a secret backup commander, if you want to call it that. Lonus Cryptozoologist. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, investigate, and you can sack X clues. Target opponent reveals top X cards of the library. You put a non-land permanent card with mana value X or less from among them onto the battlefield under your control. That player puts the rest on the bottom of their library in a random order. So it's kind of a theft effect with the amount of clues you're sacking. It's mainly in here to investigate, but the sack effect isn't the worst thing. Lonus Genetics Expert. This card, I believe, single-handedly makes this deck bracket 4. Because it just goes infinite with like a few cards. So 3 mana 1/2 evolve, which is whenever a creature with greater power enters the battlefield under your control, you put a 1/1 on this creature. Whenever 1 or more 1/1 counters are put on Lonus, investigate that many times. So you add a counter, you make a clue, and then whenever you sack a clue, put a 1/1 counter on another target creature you control. This can just make your other creatures big. Marionette Master, 6 mana 1/3 fabricate 3. So it'll enter, usually make 3 1/1s. And whenever you sack an artifact you control, or whenever an artifact is put into the graveyard, target opponent loses life equal to Marionette Master's power. So yeah, you can put 3/1 counters on it. It'll be a bit more of a magnet for removal, unfortunately, but you can play it, sack a bunch, and then hopefully burn the table. Martha Jones, 3 mana 3/2. When it enters, you investigate. Whenever you sack clue, it and up to 1 other target creature can't be blocked this turn, and has Doctor's Companion, which is useless. But yeah, sack a clue, make creature unblockable, which is useful. Meteor Golem, ETB destroy a non-land permanent. It's also a golem, which is mainly why it's in the deck, honestly. 7 mana 3/3 that ETB destroys something in these colors isn't really good. Nissa of Traken. This is one of the other cards, I believe, that is super duper good. So whenever it attacks, sacrifice X tokens. When you sacrifice 1 or more artifacts this way, tap up to X target creatures and you draw X cards. You can sack like 5 clues, draw 5, make 5 creatures not able to block, or tap 5 creatures. Really, really good payoff for your clues. Persuasive Interrogators, 6 mana 5/6. When it enters, investigate, and whenever you sack a clue, target opponent gets 2 poison counters. Is this technically a win con? If you sack 5 clues, you can just make somebody lose a game. Yeah, that's kind of it. Piper Wright, Public Reporter. I believe this goes infinite with Azuri multiple ways, or with multiple different cards. But whenever you deal combat damage, you'll play Investigate that many times, which is alright. But whenever you sack a clue, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Yeah, very, very good. It's a 1/1 counter payoff on sacking. Solemn Simulacrum is ramp. It's also an artifact. Yeah, it's a golem. That's fun. Tangle Trove Kelp, 7 mana 6/6. Ward 2 at the beginning of each combat. Other clues you control become 6/6 plant creature tokens in addition to their other types until end of turn. And you can pay 2, sack it to draw a card. This just makes all your clues 6/6s every combat. And then between combats, they actually lose the creature type, so it's a little bit harder to remove them with like sorcery speed interaction. I mean, it's 7 mana 6/6. At least it has Ward 2, so it doesn't just die right away. Thought Monitor. This is essentially 1 mana 2/2, draw 2. Pretty good. Tireless Tracker, landfall, you investigate, so you make a clue, and whenever you sack clue, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. Obviously, just good way to generate clues and pump this guy up. Wave Sifter, when it enters, investigate twice, and you can evoke it. It's really only in here for investigate twice, and you're most likely invoking it. On to the enchantments, we got Blink. I thought this was a pretty cool card. So choose target creature, its owner shuffles it into their library, then investigates. And then you make a 2/2 black alien angel artifact creature token with first strike, vigilance, and whenever an opponent casts a creature spell, this permanent isn't a creature spell until end of turn. Yeah, 2 and 4 aren't great, but 1 and 3 just being like kind of recursive removal on every other turn for 2 turns is pretty interesting. So I wanted to try in the deck. Fleeting Memories, 3 mana whenever it enters Investigate. Whenever you sack clue, target player puts top 3 cards of his or her library in his or her graveyard. Again, kind of works into the mill strategy. Ulvenwald Mysteries, 3 mana whenever non-token creature you control dies Investigate, and whenever you sack a clue, you make a 1/1. So you can make a bunch of 1/1s, and if all your creatures are being blown up, you're making clues at least. On the instant, Beast Within, obviously just really good removal. Confront the Unknown, 1 mana, Investigate, and give a 1/1 to a creature for each clue you control. So this can like instant speed pump a card that's not being blocked and like hit somebody for 10 if you have a lot of clues. Deduce, 2 mana, draw a card, Investigate. Just kind of investigate. A lot of these instances do just kind of read Investigate or cool payoffs with Investigate. Like destroy all artifacts and enchantments for each permanent destroyed this way. It essentially makes a 3/3 green centaur creature token. If you have a lot of clues, you can kind of just blow them up on like before your turn, the previous turn's end step, and then just make a lot of 3/3 centaurs, which is cool. Secrets of the Key, Investigate. If a spell is cast from your graveyard, Investigate twice. So this can kind of investigate 3 times as long as you sink mana into it. Toxin Analysis. Target creature gains Death Touch and Lifelink until end of turn. Investigate. This card is also just good for battle tricks. Giving a creature Death Touch Lifelink is nice. And then obviously the Investigate payoff. Ignoring lands. Very budget land base. And then sorceries. Obviously we're in green, so we're going to be running a bunch of ramp. Curse of Swine, I believe, is the only board wipe in the deck. I kind of wanted to run more, but It's exile X target creatures. For each creature exiled this way, they make a 2/2 green board creature token. Obviously it's not the best board wipe, it's also pretty expensive, but I just didn't want to put in better stuff. Doppelgang, I always wanted a reason to play this card because I think it's really fun. It's just XXX and Simic for each of X target permanents. Create X tokens that are copies of that permanent. So let's say you pay 6 into the X. You're making 2 copies of 2 clues. That's 8 mana to make 4 clues, which isn't great, but the more mana you pay, the better it gets. So Farseek is ramp. Follow the Bodies, Gravestorm, Investigate. So whenever you cast this copy for each permanent put into the graveyard from the battlefield this turn, if you played a card before this that sacked a bunch of clues, you can then just Gravestorm, Follow the Bodies, Investigate, and it'll copy it for every clue that went to the graveyard and just replace them for 3 mana. Foul Play, 2 mana, destroy target creature with power 2 or less, Investigate. Whenever I play higher power pods, I do notice there are more and more creatures with power 2 or less. So I think like even with a restriction of power 2 or less, I still think this card's playable. Hard Evidence, 1 mana, make a 0/3 crab, Investigate. Yeah, it says Investigate, but you get a cool token, so woohoo. Ramp, ramp, ramp. We love ramp in green. Rise and Shine, 2 mana, target non-creature artifacts you control become 0/0 artifact creatures. Put up 4/1 counters on each artifact that became a creature this way, and you can overload it for 6. So 6 mana, just make all your clues and do 4/4s, or you can make a non-creature artifact and do a 4/4. Usually it's for 6. Root Out, 3 mana, destroy target artifact or enchantment, then you Investigate. So a little bit of removal and then Investigate. They Went This Way is a search your library for basic land, put on battlefield, tap, shuffle, and Investigate. So it's kind of your 2 mana ramp, but it says Investigate for 1 extra mana. Thoughtcast, Affinity for Artifacts, draw 2. Obviously, Affinity for Artifacts really good in this deck. 3 Visits is more ramp. Let's go to the sideboard, or the maybe board. The cards that I taken out or just didn't end up playing. Forensic Agitator, whenever you cast an artifact, Investigate, and activate abilities of artifacts cost 1 less to activate. Can't be reduced to less than 1. Is really good, but I'm just not running enough, I think, artifact spells for the Investigate. It's probably still playable though. And then activate abilities cost 1 less is irrelevant when we're using our clues in different ways. Ginger Brute was originally in here just because it's a golem. So like with Ich-Tekik, you can just make it really big and unblockable. Sharp-Eyed Rookie, 2 mana, 2/2. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, if its power is greater than Sharp-Eyed Rookie, or its toughness is greater than Sharp-Eyed Rookie, put a 1/1 counter on it and Investigate. It's a way to investigate, but it just didn't seem as reliable as some of the other cards. Sir Ginger, whenever it has trample, hexproof haste as long as the opponent has a planeswalker. Whenever you sack or whenever an artifact is put in a graveyard, put a 1/1 counter on them. So you can pump them by sacking your clues. I think it's still pretty good. Unfortunately, an opponent having a planeswalker for him to get the effect kind of sucks, but whatever. Thijari and Witness, 2 mana, 0/4. Whenever another creature dies, if it was attacking or blocking alone, exile it and Investigate. a little too situational. I like the idea of the card though. Tireless Provisioner, there's another landfall, but it's food or treasure instead of investigate, so it's just worse than Tireless Provisioner or Tracker. Unshakable Trail, 3 mana, 3/2, enters, and at the beginning of your upkeep, surveil 1. Whenever one or more cards are put into your graveyard, investigate. There's just not enough ways to like self-mill yourself to investigate. And then Weirding Wood, 3 mana, enters, investigate, and you enchant a land to add 2 mana of any color. So it's kind of the 1 mana lands that make things worth 2, or the enchantments that make lands worth 2, but it costs 3 in for the investigate. But yeah, also this deck, estimate commander bracket 4. I finished making this deck, I'm like, that's very strange. I'm like, yeah, Time Sieve, Tamio's Journal, sure. Doesn't really make it 3. Then there's just multiple, like Piper Wright, Time Sieve apparently. Really useful architect thing. You can just look at the combos in your deck. Psychic Clue, put a 1 counter on target creature you control, and whenever it deals that much damage. So if you just keep hitting with her, you make enough artifacts for Time Sieve. I don't think this combo is actually that good, because it's like you have to keep hitting different people. If you had the other Doctor Who card to make a creature unblockable, it would be consistent, but that's like a 3-card combo, which is bracket 3. Lonus and KCI, sack an artifact, add 2, and then you just need one of the spike cycles. So yeah, this one not complete. Spike cycle being any of these cards that say 2 mana, remove 1/1 counter from this, put a 1/1 counter on a creature, because that works with why the combos aren't found. Thank you, architect. But yeah, stuff like that. I clicked the wrong thing. And then what else is there? Obviously, yeah, Lonus, Piper Wright. So sack Clue, put a 1 counter on creature you control. You put on Lonus. Lonus is whenever he gets 1 counter, investigate, and then you just have any type of sacrifice and artifact payoff. KCI makes infinite and I guess yeah, infinite mana for infinite draws. Grinding Station is infinite mill. Those are the main two. But yeah, that's the deck. Surprisingly, only $86. I can go to the Rex, but they're probably going to be weird and unhinged. Yet, Assassin Trophy's a good card. I don't think Assyrian Sculptor is probably worth playing. Counterspell is, sure, it's Counterspell. Emery is probably not worth it, nor is Foundry Inspector. Baleful Strix is obviously always just like a good card, but I don't think it's crazy. When this enters, make 2 3/3 golems, and golems have trample. I think there's a one that gives golems flying. Yeah, it's this one. It's probably a black splicer that gives golems like death touch. I wouldn't play any of them because I don't really care about the golem synergy. Triplicate Titan's a golem that makes golems. This guy's a golem. Sai, whenever you cast an artifact spell, make a Thopter. Obviously not enough artifact spells. But yeah, that's the deck. I thought this was interesting. This was originally built off a Doctor Who Simic card that I don't unfortunately have in the deck anymore. It's a guy that investigates, and you can like, I don't know, pay mana to have him deal damage equals the amount of power or something, which is the cards in your hands to another creature. And at first it was that, I'm like, haha, he's a detective, but he throws away all his clues. And then the deck was just like, I need more payoffs, and black does have some of that with cards like, obviously Marriott Master, Kesket, obviously amazing cards. Time Sieve is really, really good. But yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back next week with, again, I don't know what. I'm kind of just winging stuff right now. Like this, I was just like, what if I did this? But it was funny. But yeah. Alright, goodbye.